Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Between the Walls. We are your hosts. My name's Jess.
And I'm Jonathan, and we are the Wallaces.
Yes, welcome back. This is episode,
I
not
don't
sure. We just record all of them like in advance, and we're just not sure what episode, what
Where we're placing them?
Yeah, but so far they have been coming out as we've been doing them, but whatever. So today's episode topic is a little controversial. It's a little basic too. This is something that people have made 1,000 podcast topics about. But Jonathan and his friends at work were talking about it, and I guess you can pick up from there.
Yeah, so I was at work, and for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a physical therapist. So there's just a lot of people around, and there are people of all different walks of life. So we have older people, younger people, but we started having a conversation because one of our techs, she actually watched our podcast. So like Sophia.
Hey, Sophia.
Yeah, she watched our podcast, and she was saying, you know, I was talking to my guy best friend about this boy that I like, and I'm like, guy best friend? I'm like, ain't no such thing as a guy best friend. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, everything is platonic. There's nothing there. And I was like, oh, the young.
How old is she?
She is not 18 years old.
Oh, that was a good time. That was a sweet time.
Think you know? At 18, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
I thought I knew so much.
You know a few things, but
I know a little bit. You know a little bit.
Yeah, you know a few things.
But she was like, yeah, you know, it's all platonic. There's nothing there. He's just my guy best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And where it caused a little bit of a, like
debate.
a debate inside the PT offices instead of talking about exercises. I said, it is impossible for, your mic is like falling. I said, it is impossible for a man and a woman to be best friends without somebody catching feelings at some point in time, if you let it last long enough.
Mm.
And, you know, some people were disagreeing. Some people were like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, it's usually most of the guys were like, it's true.
Yeah.
And like, you could tell the older people in the room were agreeing with me. And then the younger people were like, no. So I just thought it would be an interesting topic to bring up to the podcast, where we'd be talking about, can guys and girls be best friends, one, or what does that mean in terms of boundaries as far as like relationships with friends of the opposite sex, or what guardrails you put in place?
Yeah, this is tough because I don't think anything is impossible. And do I know of any successful cases? Actually, I do, but I'm not sure if the person was truthful of like never having feelings, or maybe they just knew they could never stand a chance, so they just, oh, he's my best friend. But like, I don't know.
Well, part of it is that I said they can't be best friends without someone catching feelings. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that the person will necessarily act on it. Like those feelings can stay like just bottled up, and you know, though eventually they can go away.
Yeah.
But I just think the nature of how men and women are designed, if you feed into an emotional connection, especially if you're reasonably compatible,
and like good looking, you're both like.
Or
you're attracted. You don't have to be good looking.
Attracted to that person.
Even sometimes, like, they don't even have to be good looking, but after a while, like, since you have so much like compatibility and like, oh, my family loves them and we laugh, you just start looking attracted to that person.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I gotta unbutton my pants, so I'm just gonna pull my shirt out because these pants just don't fit me.
I'm definitely keeping that in.
Like, oh my gosh. Oh, okay. And these size 2s don't fit the way they used to. Anyway, so yeah, okay. Do you have experience with this?
Yeah,
me too.
I'm like everybody in the world has experience with this. It's like, you just like, especially when you're younger, you just get so comfortable with that person that you're telling them everything, you're talking to them about everything, and before you know it, you're like, wait a minute,
we're married now.
It's like, I do like that person. Yeah. I think it's a little different with me and Jess because I always liked her, even though like she didn't like me. But I think that in just like relationships where you didn't even desire a relationship, and both people can like be on the same page with that, and like so many people, I think, from there like end up starting a relationship, and I think that's actually the jump off point to a good relationship for a lot of people.
Yeah,
where you're friends first, so you know, just the difference in friends and dating. When you're friends, you're not really trying to impress anybody. You're just
Mm-hmm.
being yourself,
Yourself fully. Yeah.
yourself fully. And that way, if you fall in love that way, it's really good because you get to show them yourself without having to put on
Mm-hmm.
like when you're dating, you want to show your best self.
Yeah.
Um,
And I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with like falling in love with your best friend. I feel like people like are so against it, like, no, we're just friends. It's never gonna happen. It's like it's okay. Be open. I think it's okay to be open to the thought of it. What I think is kind of not whack, but like what some people I think do, comma, do it. Does it? Do you put a comma there when you say do twice? Like
yeah, I
do.
think
What some
so.
people do is that like they know that like this person is probably not gonna like me, so I'm just gonna be their best friend, and like they just act like, oh, I don't like her, man. We're just friends. It's like you're in love with her actually, and you know it, and it's okay.
Yeah, I think in that situation when there's two single people, because two single people is different than like a relationship, and I feel like we're gonna get into that
Oh
that
yeah, no,
later.
that's dead.
But two single people, I think if you know somebody really well and you start to gather feelings for them, I think it's a good idea to try it out or to talk
Yeah,
about it. I think relationships only ever get weird once you start adding sexual components to it.
yeah, but that's gonna
You,
happen.
I
It shouldn't, but
it
it's
doesn't. I understand,
most of the time
but
it's
I'm
probably gonna
saying it's
happen.
like I'm not. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, or that it has to ruin the friendship if you entertain a relationship because it could be romantic without being sexual. I feel
Hmm.
like the moment you cross the sexual boundary,
Wait, is
eh,
kissing sexual?
not necessarily, but it
Oh,
can,
okay.
but it
Well,
can
yeah,
be.
it depends on what type of kissing. What are we doing?
It depends what kind of kissing
Yeah.
you get to. But if it's just like let's go on a few dates to see where things go and treat it in that way and see where you get to,
Hmm.
that can be a healthy way of going forward.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if you're friends with somebody and you start to cross that sexual barrier,
Yeah, it's tough to come
you
back
you,
from.
you took you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube and
Can't put it back
you
in.
can't put it back in.
Yeah, it's really tough to come back from that.
If you come back from it, it's like an act of God, honestly,
Yeah,
because it
yeah.
gets weird. It's
I'm like trying to think if I know anyone who's like come back from it successfully, but I don't think so. I'm trying to
no.
know. Yeah, it's tough.
Because then you have too much caught into it, and then I don't know what you guys think about soul ties, but
Yeah.
I'm pro get to know somebody through being friends, and if feelings develop, go seek them out the right way.
Yeah. I think also a lot of people try to like deny the feeling so hard because if they do try it out and it doesn't work out, then you just lost your best friend, you know?
Yeah, but I feel like you only lose your best friend if you're greasing.
I
Do
guess no, you know
is
what?
grease a Florida word too? Like for sex?
I don't know,
I think
but
that's a
when we
Florida
say
thing.
agrees, that means sex. But I think also, even if there is no sexual thing there, like say you do try it out, right? And we'll say the girl's not feeling it, but the guy was like, "Oh, I was feeling it," and she's like, "Oh, I just prefer like let's just stay best friends." And then now the guy, his feelings are there, and now she's starting to date other people or whatever. And he's like, I can't do this anymore, actually,
Yeah,
and the
but
friendship's ruined, whether it's sexual stuff or not.
yeah, but I feel like if like one person's like really in love with the other person,
Hmm.
it would get to that point regardless.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
it
what I'm
does.
saying? It's just like you're giving yourself a shot at it.
Hmm.
I'm always pro give yourself a shot at love, even if you could get hurt.
Mm, yeah. Better have
Like
loved
sometimes
than
you get
lost.
better to love and have lost than I've never
Never
to
love
love
at
at all.
all. Wait, why you sound Irish?
Better to have loved than lost than that I never love at all. I don't know why I said that like that. But yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
Now, what do you think about either like a couple, like you're in a couple or you're married, having a best friend of the opposite sex?
Well, now that I think about it, it's so funny. I was talking to Lisa the other day. She was like, never mind, I'll tell you later. Okay, when I first started dating Jonathan, his best friend was a girl, Lisa. And then, like, I think I mentioned this before, or maybe I think we cut it out, but like, then Lisa, she started to become my best friend. And like, Jonathan was just like an extra character in our story. But like, she like moved on to our side. But at the same time, even if she didn't, I mean, we were friends before. I kind of knew her, but we weren't like best friends. But even if she never became my best friend and just remained being yours, this doesn't happen often. But I just knew that it was never going to be a thing. I don't know. I just was very confident. But I think there's also, it's important to not be so confident that you are careless with it.
Don't get crazy.
Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, me and Lisa are gonna go to the movies. We're gonna watch a movie. I'll see you. And like, oh yeah, nothing's ever gonna happen. But it's like a boundary. Like,
I
don't be
think
silly.
I think the times where people are most likely to get caught up in anything at all,
Hmm.
it's when you think
I got this.
I got this, that can never be me.
Yeah, it can always be you.
I
It
don't
can
care
always be
who
you.
you are, like what walk of life. If you're like, nah, don't even worry about that. Like I got that.
No, you've got nothing.
The devil's got you.
Right? Yeah. Like, watch out. Like, I don't know. You might not be as strong as you think
You
under
might
certain
not got this.
circumstances. Yeah. Yeah. But what was your original question? Sorry.
What do you think about like if you're in a couple having a best friend of the opposite gender or your partner having a best friend of the opposite gender?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like different strokes for different folks. My stroke is absolutely not
Yeah,
for this folk here, but I do know like there are some like people who get married and like their best man is a girl, made a woman of
that's just
best
so
woman
crazy
or
to me.
whatever, or like a man of honor. Like sometimes they happen to be like homosexual or something, so like no one cares. But sometimes they're not. It's just like, oh, I'm one of the bros. Like I'm one of the bros. Like we know this girl. She's like one of the guys. She's not a guy, but like if she was your best friend, I would never think any of it because she's just like, oh, she's the homie for real. But I just know there are some circumstances where people are like, oh, that's the homie, when high key it's not the homie, and it's just like, oh yeah, we XYZ, but like that's the homie, and like I would never, it would never be a thing. But it's like, okay, it's not the homie because you and your homie's not kissing. It's right.
We not.
Yeah, just for some clarity for those who not, yeah. And then when the girl is, oh, she's the homie, like, yeah, we kissed one time, but like she's the homie. Once you kiss one time, for me, if we're
The dynamics shifted. The
the
dynamics have
homie,
shifted.
wrap it up for me personally. And I don't think it has anything to do with, oh, I don't trust my spouse or like, oh, I'm not confident in our relationship. I just think just be smart about certain things, like have boundaries. But at the same time, if you did have a girl best friend, I don't think it's my job to give you boundaries on what you guys are doing.
But you would though.
Absolutely. But but it shouldn't be my job. You should be the one to be like
Yeah.
XYZ. And I would also hope that your girl best friend, if you had one, knew her place and was not, out here
Yeah.
acting crazy.
I think
I'm number one. Hello.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think the tale is old as time. Like there are so many stories. I feel like they're countless of, a guy or a girl with the best friend and everything's copacetic. They're cool with the wife, they're cool with the husband or whatever
Mm-hmm.
way it is. And you have a tough day.
Mm,
The wife like gets you upset and you're telling your best friend,
mm-hmm.
it's like, man, like it's really hard, blah 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 blah. And then you start to vent. Once you
Mm-hmm.
start to vent, you make emotional connection around
Mm.
that venting. And before you know it, it's like, well, I would never do you like that. And
Yeah,
then
best friend's out of line.
well, but it's like, or the guy could be like, well, I know you would never do me like that to the girl.
Mm.
Right? Vice versa. And then just before you know it, you're on a path that it always happens slow. Like it's never like a quick,
Yeah. Because you're always like, oh, it's innocent. Like, it was literally harmless. She was just being there for me.
she's just there for
It
me.
always
And
starts.
before you know it, you start to and what will happen is that you'll start to develop like romantic feelings
Mm-hmm.
because like just was talking about the 80-20 rule the other day to me and
Mm-hmm.
like explaining it to me that person is giving you 20% of something that you're not getting
Mm-hmm.
out of your relationship, and it just feels like, man, this feels like a safe space.
Yeah.
And the moment like someone else starts to feel like the safe space instead of your partner,
Oh, yeah, you're in trouble.
there you're on a path to being in trouble. So at that one instance it can be innocent, but it's just like a slow pull, and before you know it, you're further than you ever thought you would be.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, well, speaking of, just to make it clear what the 80-20 rule is, you kind of did say it, but just to
Yeah,
say
go
it again,
for it.
because we like brushed over it. So if you haven't heard of the 80-20 rule, that means that you have not seen Tyler Perry's movie, Why Did I Get Married? And actually, Jonathan literally just heard of the 80-20 rule when I said it, last week?
Yeah, I have seen that movie. It's probably a long time ago.
You weren't tapped in for real. But the 80
No.
20 rule is your partner is giving you 80%. And the 80 sounds good, but it sounds small when you're missing 20. And then someone else comes who gives you 20%, that 20%. But they're only giving you 20%. But since that's what you're missing, it feels like everything. And then, like in the movie, the guy left his 80 for the 20. And then he realized, like, dang, actually, this is horrible. She's only giving me 20. I missed the 80. So that's what the 80-20 is. But I feel like and I could be wrong, but in my thoughts, I feel like the best friend, if you have a spouse and you still have like that guy best friend, girl best friend, like she is, you said this actually, you just said this. Like they're
What?
kind of giving you the 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're giving you that 20 and it just feels good. It's like, oh, you're like everything that my spouse like isn't, and that's why I give you this part of me. It's like when you should be giving all that to your spouse. But like
Yeah.
I said, I'm not. Actually, I am. I feel like I like to dance around things a lot because I don't want to be like, oh, I didn't necessarily say this, but I want to stand on this for myself in my marriage. It wouldn't work for me. I don't believe in a girl best friend or guy best friend situation for us.
Yeah, and I do think that people will be like, okay, so am I supposed to drop all my friends? And I say to that, no, not at all.
Hmm.
Especially the guy to girl friendships. It's just the nature of the friendship shifts
Yeah.
when you get married, just out of safety, out of just
Hmm.
being abundance of caution and being safe. So it's like if you know the line is like right here, and you just don't want to dance like close to the line, you want a guardrail, so you're just
Hmm.
so far from the line that you don't even give yourself a chance to slip up, because giving anybody giving yourself a chance to slip up can get caught slipping.
Yeah.
So it's like I have good friends that are girls that I was closer to before I was married,
Hmm.
but then there's just a level of boundary that I put up for myself that just isn't like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. It just I put that boundary up for myself.
Hmm.
For example, like I have this one coworker that she was telling me about some of her guy issues.
Hmm.
The first thing I said was like, me and my wife, like we want to help talk you through this.
Hmm.
Just rope Jess into it immediately, and not that there was anything there or anything weird or anything like that at all,
Hmm.
but it's just the abundance of caution. You just want to
Yeah.
be safer than necessary to be safe.
Hmm.
You know. Go
Was
ahead.
I
Go
about
ahead.
to cut you off? Okay,
No, no, you're
I'm
good.
not gonna lie, you guys. That is something that I was worried about with Jonathan before we got married. I'm like, I was really scared of what things were gonna look like because my husband is he's very friendly and he's so good to talk to that like girls love to talk to Jonathan, like, oh, like get advice or like blah blah. Like Jonathan had so many girl friends.
I'm just friendly.
He had a lot of girl best friends. I'm like, what? You got a lot,
If
like
we're
boy.
psychoanalyzing myself, especially at that time, like before I'd gone to therapy and everything, I used to be more comfortable talking to girls,
Hmm.
like not like in a platonic sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it always starts like in a platonic sense, but in a
Hmm.
platonic sense,
Hmm.
than I was talking to guys,
Mm.
because I think subconsciously I had this idea that like that girl connection and like wanting that,
Hmm.
to make me feel safe or make me feel secure of myself. And it wasn't until like I started going to therapy and then like got really tapped in with like the male homies,
Hmm.
that I started to get like freedom from that. Like, wait, why am I talking to so many girls?
Hmm.
And like all those girls that were my friends, like still are my friends, and they are really good friends. But I just realized that there was just a level of like, oh, there is kind of like a lot,
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm
more
like,
than more than the guy friends.
yeah,
Because I have the guy friends there, but just in terms of depth of conversation, I
yeah, yeah,
felt
yeah.
much more comfortable going deep. Oh, it sounds
All
crazy.
right, brother. All
It sounds
right, brother.
crazy. Going into deeper conversation with the girls than I did the guys at that time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and they were all gorgeous too. I'm like, hey, yo, your best friends are all very beautiful. I love that for you. Like, yeah, they're all beautiful, and they're all like pretty much all of them have become like my friends too. Even to the point. Okay, going back to the fact that girls just love Jonathan, which is great. I love you too. You have these two friends. Actually, you had this group chat when you were in school. There was a group chat, and you were the only boy, and there was like four other girls or something. Do you remember that?
Maybe.
Yeah, there was like a group chat they had like when he was in PT school. It was like some girls and then just him. And I'm like, what? Why is everybody like what's going on here? But I wasn't ever too like pressed. And then like Jonathan took me to meet some of them. He's like, oh, I met Kayla and
Jocelyn.
Jocelina, and I love them. But he always did a pretty good job of like roping me into the friendship as well. But it's like girls are just attracted to who Jonathan is as a person because you're so good to talk to. You're so wise. All this, and this.
I
But I
just
could
think
see how it. I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm like, did I miss something? I can see. I love you. I could see how it would be easy for women to find themselves being like, oh my gosh, I like Jonathan, or I wish I could find someone like Jonathan, or blah, blah, blah. 'Cause
I
he's
feel
so
like you're
good to
taking.
talk
I feel like
to.
you're taking it a step like a step further though.
Ooh, but I'm not talking about the girls in your school liked you. I'm just saying I could see how that could happen easily because you're so good to talk to.
I get you. Thank you. Thank you.
Or not. I don't know.
No, but I think I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was stumbling over my words, but I think is that I'm a safe presence as far as guys go.
Okay.
Like,
For women?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I hope in general, but but in terms of like, I feel like a lot of guys can give an energy of like, oh, I'm trying to talk to you, but I
Mm-hmm.
think one of I think things that God's blessed me with is like to feel like safe. Like I'm not
Yeah.
trying to do anything but other than be your friend.
Yeah. And it's true. I can see that. But you know what? I don't think it's just with women because a lot of guys do talk to you too. Like when you had your men's group, or not, like normally I would leave the house when Jonathan had his men's group. And then when I'd come home, there'd be at least one or two people still here talking to Jonathan, like just talking about like personal things. So I can see that. And that's not a bad thing at all. You know, it's
Yeah,
something that I admire about you. So,
thank you.
mhm.
But I think that's what it was in terms of me and my relationships with um like girls. But I do think now in our marriage, even more so than like any other time in my life, I feel like I try very hard to set boundaries like before things even could potentially become a thing, and
Mhm.
I try to overshare as well.
What do you mean by overshare?
Like if something happens, tell you about it up front before like trying to like squish it down to make sure it's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell them about when you came home that one time? You're like, just so you know, blah blah blah.
What did I say again? I don't even remember what I said. I know what you're talking about
Can I
though.
tell them? Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, you can talk about that.
Okay, so like we know, Jonathan's a physical therapist, right? And like I said, he's safe presence, but people love to talk to him. And if I don't know if you've ever been to physical therapy, I haven't, but from what my husband tells me, it's not just massage and blah blah. There's a lot of conversations going on, and Jonathan gets to know people very well as he works with them throughout however many weeks they're there. So one day, Jonathan comes home with a gift and a card. And he's walking in, doesn't even say hi yet. He's like, just so you know, this is from a girl. I'm gonna put this right here. You can look through it, read the card, whatever you want. So I'm like, everything's fine. But I don't like these I opened that gift and I read that card and I'm like, y'all had some really good conversations, huh? Like the girl, she got him this the gift was nice. It was like a Stanley cup. She got him like his favorite chocolates or something.
I don't even like chocolate.
I'm like,
There's candy in there though.
yeah, it's candy. Got him a gift card for coffee. Wrote him a card, a really nice card. And I was like, okay. So at that moment, if I did not trust my husband and know who he was, my lights would have been kind of going off a little bit. I was like being fake mad. I was like, oh, look at your new water bottle from your little girlfriend. Like I was just being like fake mad. And he carries that water bottle around every day to this day. And I don't
The water bottle's fire.
care. Yeah, it's nice. Those are expensive.
Shout out to that patient.
Yeah, shout out to sis. Like, it's really nice. So I do have a question for you. Like, so say you had a girl best friend. She didn't know me. How would you put those guardrails up and still try to maintain the friendship? Because some best friends, they start feeling really salty. Like, oh, he spends all his time with her now, or she spends all his time with him. We're not the same. Like, dang, we used to have Sunday dinners with my mom. Now she don't come. How do you put those guardrails up on the side of the best friend now who is not friends with your new girlfriend?
I
You
think
know?
I think the best thing that you can do is try to get them acquainted with your significant other
Mm-hmm.
so that you can make it a joint thing
Mm-hmm.
as much as possible. You know, you kind of want it to be because say you get married to the person that you're talking to, like that's
Mm-hmm.
going to be your life partner.
Yeah.
And if your friend is going to be a part of your life, she probably should be a part of your life with your life partner as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And so it doesn't have to be that they're best like if I had a girl like best friend, it doesn't have to be that you and her are best friends too.
Mhm.
But like for me, if you guys weren't cool, like that, I don't know if how much that would really work.
Yeah. Okay. And
But if you're just like say if you just start dating somebody,
me,
and
yeah.
yeah, like you're not like you're not married,
Mhm.
and you can't get that girlfriend to be friends with your girl best friend, like they just like don't I think at that point is where you need to make a decision, like which person's more important to you,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then make that decision from there because it will only get worse.
Yeah. Like if Lisa didn't like me,
Yeah.
how like
You're gonna ask me if I were to choose you, Lisa?
no, but I'm saying how for anyone who's struggling to navigate this, like they have a girl best friend or a guy best friend, and now they're dating someone. It's like, oh, how do I navigate this with keeping the friendship, especially if the best friend is not really feeling the new person.
We have a conversation about the boundaries of it.
Hmm.
I'm always pro conversation.
Yeah.
Talk things out. See what they're coming from. See where you're coming from. Talk to your significant other. See where they're coming from.
Hmm.
What? See if you can try to make some peace around the situation.
Hmm.
And then bring that to like an understanding because you
Yeah.
do want to include like the three as much as is possible,
Yeah.
in my
Okay.
opinion.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out like, okay, and say your girlfriend just felt uncomfortable with it. Like, how do you navigate that? Like, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how the best friend can still stay in the picture without crossing boundaries, without dropping it, and like trying to make everybody happy. I mean, at the end of the day, if you feel like you're gonna marry that girlfriend, I feel like her feelings should come first, especially if she's being reasonable. If she's being unreasonable, then I feel like you're just gonna.
Everyone has different definitions of reasonable, though.
That's true, because if your best friend is acting crazy and she's like talking about me and she doesn't like me, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna lie, she might have to go. But some people have like their best friends since they were born. It's like, bro, we grew up together. Our moms are best friends. We grew up together. We're supposed to drop
Yeah,
her.
yeah. But if you know that someone is going to be your spouse or your life partner, that supersedes every other form of relationship.
Yeah.
Like I think about how much I love my brother. Like I love my brother to death on this earth. Like people who like I just care about. Like he's like number two.
I
But
really.
I'm getting to this. So basically, I'm saying that even my relationship with him, my relationship with you, and my covenant to you supersedes that relationship with him.
Mhm.
So, and that's my brother.
Mhm.
So the girl best friend, whatever she is on the line, if you are going to be my life partner,
Mhm.
I try my best. I feel like for me, and everyone's different. Everybody has like is gonna attack this differently, right? But for me in my house,
Mhm.
like if we can't get it to where you guys like are amicable,
Yeah.
or like you're okay with it,
Mhm.
then like it sucks, but that relationship has to be diminished.
Yeah.
Like for example, like if there is anybody that you were like, I don't know, my spirit doesn't take them. Like I just like don't want you. You said I don't want you hanging out with them. You wouldn't say that, but if you did, I can't hang out with them.
Yeah.
It's like it sucks. It might suck, but my covenant to you is stronger than my covenant to anyone else.
Mhm. It's true. Thanks.
I mean, it is what it is. I'm sorry
That's
for.
marriage.
Yeah, it's marriage.
Yeah.
It's like that's the choice you decided to go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I will say on this is that I do think if you do have a guy best friend or a girl best friend and you're a guy or girl, whatever, I do think if you find someone that you want to be with, I think if anything, you might want to prepare yourself for the possibility of losing that friendship. Possibility. It's not. It doesn't have to happen, but
Or for it to be diminished at least.
or yeah, maybe I'll prefer to say that. It's gonna be different. And I think that your best friend, guy or girl, whatever, needs to know that. And I feel like if they're your best friend, they should really be okay with that. It's like, oh, I love this for you. Like, go find love. And hopefully your girl or guy best friend, they find love too.
But even in relationships with guy best friends as well, like within me and like a guy best friend,
Hmm.
when we got married, our relationship changes too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like we're still like good and we're close, like we hang out, but
Hmm.
I can't just go to you and vibe out whenever,
Yeah.
like however, like when you could before in the past.
Yeah.
Where they could where like your best friends can take precedence in your life.
Hmm.
It's like things shift. Like
Yeah.
you're not my number. Like my family, my house is my number one priority.
Yeah.
Where the priorities shift, it's like everything else has to kind of get diminished. What do you think about? I already know what you're gonna say, but
Don't play with me
I
right
feel like
now.
it's just good content, so I have to ask the question.
What, sir?
Work wives,
Oh,
work
don't even
husbands.
play with me. Never. Zero. excuse me, you could do that if you don't have a boyfriend or husband or whatever. Work wife and work husband yourself away if you don't have a spouse already. But can you imagine if you were married and you go to work and your work wife's like, "Oh, I brought lunch for you." Like, work wife? No, no. I'm your work wife. I'm your wife. I'm your everything wife. There's no other. No. That is so silly to me. Unless you really are single, do it all day, have fun with it, play house, but that's crazy to me. That's never gonna work for me. So like, let's next question, my brother. Absolutely not. No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
I think
no,
the
no.
topic of work and in spaces where, well, you don't really have to deal with it that much because you work from home,
Hmm.
but in spaces where your partner just is not at all,
Hmm.
I feel like you just have to exercise like the abundance of caution.
So what are the boundaries? What are those boundaries? Because we were like, oh, if you have, even when it comes to work and or your patients or like whatever, like what are those boundaries to you? Because at work you spend a lot of time with those same people every day. Sometimes you spend more time with the people at work than you do at home. Because like you're there for 8 hours, you come home, you eat dinner, maybe watch a 30-minute show, and you go to sleep. Spend 3 hours with your wife, 8 hours with people at work. How do you like keep those boundaries? Because I work from home, so there's no boundaries
Yeah,
here.
for me personally, I tr- I try not to have much communication with any, especially like woman from work, either not about work things
Hmm.
or like at all, like when I'm not at work.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I could text somebody about, a patient, or something like that, or I have some patients' numbers where like I'd say, "Oh, can you come in at a different time
Hmm.
instead of this time?"
Hmm.
But I always try to keep it about work, and if there's any conversation not about work, I try to keep it very short,
Hmm.
and not continually feed into it.
Yeah.
Just because something can be innocent, and I think most times things are innocent,
Hmm.
but things that are innocent can become not innocent before you realize it's become not innocent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And especially like with the nature of my job, and everyone's job is a little different.
Hmm.
Where with your patients, like you're
You
doing,
touching them.
you're touching them. Yeah, you're doing like soft tissue. It's like especially in a condition like that,
Hmm.
like the caution levels need to be higher than if I worked in sales
Yeah, because
because
it's
it's
physical.
yeah,
Hmm.
and there hasn't been any incidents, and like I pray that there will continue to be no incidences.
Hmm.
But it's even just protecting, not like from like any accusations or anything, but protecting from like my heart, protecting my heart as well,
Hmm.
because I am human, and somebody like you're having conversations with like constantly and talking about things constantly. It can't.
While you're rubbing on a booty, that's crazy.
It could. Yeah. Well,
Do
that's
y'all
literally what's
talk
happening.
while you're massaging, or like I'm gonna pull up, dog? Bring your wife to work day. I'm pulling up. What we doing?
Yeah, but in situations like that, you're just putting up guardrails in order
Hmm.
to not continue conversation
Yeah.
past like work.
Yeah. I feel like this conversation is not even so much about can guys and girls or be best friends. I think
Is it
it's
wise?
more about, I think this is more of a boundary conversation. I mean, aside, we did talk about can guys and girls be best friends, but I feel like in full, like this should be more of like a boundaries conversation because even if I don't have a guy who's my best friend, like, what do you feel like if like a guy is texting me about like every time he has a problem with his girlfriend, he's coming to text me and like ask me for advice or like lean on me for things like that. Like
It's a bit much.
that's where yeah, he's not my guy best friend, but he is coming to me because like I need to talk to a girl about this. And I don't think that's necessarily a problem, but like I feel like it could be a problem if every time you and your spouse have an issue, you're going to the same guy. Like, oh man, she's tripping, dog. Like, I don't know what to do, or just complaining to her about me. You don't even want advice. You just want to complain to her about me. Like in my text, it's like this could get weird.
It could, yeah. It's very easy chance of getting weird
Mhm.
without before you even realize it.
Yeah.
So I think a boundary that I try is that if any girl wants to talk to me about problems or anything, which isn't bad, I will try to either have the conversation one in plain sight
Hmm.
so that like everyone can see what's happening, or two, rope Jess into the conversation, or just send that person to Jess.
Yeah. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, hey, bro, why you roping me into this, dog? I'm like, handle that.
No,
I'm
because
talking to nobody.
it's just the abundance of caution,
But
and
no, I feel you though.
people might think I'm tripping, or people might think it's like, oh, do you think
OD.
you think you're gonna cheat? Like, I don't think so. But the reason I don't think so is because I'm not putting myself in a position to make it a possibility.
Yeah.
There are some guys. I have some friends that are like, I'm not capable of cheating. Like, I don't have it in me. Like, my code is just too.
No, brother. Don't do that to yourself. Because that'll just put you in a weird
I just feel like
position.
that's the way the devil works. Pride, like they say, pride comes before the fall.
Yeah.
Anything that you're like, I would never. I don't got that in me. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's for people like you're weak if you do that.
Yeah, wrap that up.
That's usually what happens right before you get cooked. Don't get cooked.
Yeah, don't get cooked, my
Don't get
dog.
cooked.
Filleted. Okay.
Mignon.
So we're married, obviously. If I make a new guy friend, is it no new friend season? Like, I make a new
You
guy
could
friend.
have friends.
So I make a new guy friend, and you're like, oh, who is this new guy friend? It's like, oh, he's just some guy I met at this YouTube convention. Like, yeah, we're friends. This is a question just to have conversation. But do you feel that you need to know all of my guy friends? Especially if they're new, like they're new now. Not the ones that I had before. You're never gonna know all the guy friends I had before. That sounds crazy. But
Yeah,
like I know, I'm like, whoa, how many guy friends do I have? I get a new guy friend now, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just met him at this brand trip I just went to, and like we all just exchanged information.
Like, how often are you talking?
I don't know, a kiki here and a kiki there. I'm like, oh man, this. Remember that time we went to that trip, dog? Like I just had the same sushi, and I just reminded me of you, and I sent him the picture. It can't remind me of him?
It can. But I think what a lot of couples need to start doing, I feel like there are two kinds of couples. Like the jealous couples, and then the couples that like don't want to talk about it because it's like, no, I trust my husband or I trust my wife. Like I'm not even gonna bring it up.
Well, there's three times because there's obviously
And then there's
the healthy ones, or the ones in the middle. Yeah,
there's the healthy ones. Yeah, and I think that what we need to do, in relationships is if something starts to like, even if it's like yellows to flags, it's not even like it's not even red. It's not even close to red, but it's like I don't know. You're kind of talking to them a lot. Bring that up.
Yeah.
It's like it's making me a little bit uncomfortable that like you're talking to them so much, just so that you could plant something in your spouse's mind. It's like, oh, I know that you're talking to them that much, and so you could have a flag up.
Yeah.
But in a lot of unhealthy couples, what will happen is like, no, you're tripping.
Yeah, this
like,
is nothing. It's nothing. Look, we're just talking about sushi. No big deal.
Yeah, like stop tripping. And like that's when you're setting yourself up for failure. I think listening to your spouse, listening to your significant other when they start to talk, voicing uncomfortability, especially if they do it, in a way that's reasonable. Start listening to those things and being like, hey, let me think. Let me think about it. Because the way feelings develop is never fast.
Yeah.
It's always real slow.
It creeps up on you. All of a sudden, you find yourself laughing at this text message from this guy. Like, oh, he's so funny.
And you find yourself like, you always know you're in trouble when you're starting to be a little bit in trouble when you don't want to share the fact that you're talking to that person. Where like it's like if they ask you, you will tell them,
right?
But it's like I kind of don't want to talk about it or like show it, And like your brain just does that subconsciously, and anytime you're there, you're starting to trek down a path where you could get yourself into some trouble. Doesn't mean you're necessarily in trouble yet. There's a long
trouble.
Yet there's a long road between like in trouble and like good.
Yeah.
And I think we not we us necessarily, but like we like to play around too much close to being in trouble
line. Yeah, that happened to me the other day. I was texting someone and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm texting so and so. Is that bothering you?" I don't even remember your answer. I thought you were like, "No, but thank you for letting me know, though." Yeah. But I feel like even me as I was like, all right, there's a little too much kiki going on here. So I was like, all right, well, let's just wrap this conversation up and like have a good day, brother. But like, it's important to. So I'm not saying you can never text a guy of the opposite sex or you can never text any of your guy friends. But I think when you let things be out in the open, in the air, it's just accountability. Yeah, accountability is a safety.
There's a verse. Keep talking.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's all I really had to say. But accountability is safety. You always say like, oh, when it's in the light, it's like, it's just safe. Because it could honestly be about nothing. Like, oh, I'm just asking this guy for this recipe he posted on TikTok and I want to ask him real quick. But it's just like, oh, by the way, now we went from talking about the recipe to this favorite show that we both ended up watching or something. And that's okay, but I feel like it's like just have the honest open and don't be like, oh, let me delete this or like let me put my phone down. So
Ooh, the moment you putting your phone down and deleting
yeah,
stuff,
or like upside down so like they don't see or something. It's like, whoa. And I think it's also actually I don't even need to say this part, but or maybe no, I won't. I won't. Yeah, it's weird. I haven't find that verse because I'm gonna just keep rambling.
no,
And,
keep ramble.
got me over here saying foolishness.
In 1 John 1, it says, "This is the message that we have heard from him and declare to you: God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him, yet walk in darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, then we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus and his son purifies us from all sin." The reason I read that verse was, like you said, as long as things are in the light, then you're good. You only get yourself into danger if you start living in the dark, like in the dark, and not and having secrets and starting to hide things. It's like, okay, this is innocent, but I know if my wife sees this or I know if my girl sees this, she'll trip out.
Right.
So I'm just not gonna show her because
Yeah.
there's no big deal. You're like, it's no big deal, so I won't show her.
That's what makes it a big deal. The fact that you're like, I'm not gonna show her.
Yeah, and it's like, if you show her or if you confess to her, whatever it is, might she fuss you out a little bit? Maybe, but sometimes you need that. Sometimes that's good and healthy to keep you on the up and up, to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
You know, and once you start to hide things, I think that's when you're really, really close to the danger zone.
Yeah. Only time I want you to hide something from me is if you're planning my surprise party with my friends. That's fine. You can hide that. But yeah, being in the light, that's just where it's at. I think that's important. And I guess to wrap it up, our final thoughts. Yes, guys and girls can be friends. Yes, guys and girls can be best friends too. Can it possibly end up in something? Yes, a lot of the times it does. But if you do have a guy friend, best friend, and you're a girl, or a girl best friend and you're a guy, just make sure you set up those proper boundaries. And for the most part, it just shouldn't be the same exact as it was before you had a partner, unless you guys really weren't that close in the first place. But
Yeah, maybe we'll make a part 2 for this because I do have some more questions that I could ask you, but I feel like it would just take a long time.
I feel like we should just do it all in this one because I don't want to do a part 2 of this.
So, okay, it'll be relatively quick. So, what do you think you would say to a person whose partner has tended to overreact to stuff, and where it really might be innocent or like in their opinion innocent, but their partner goes crazy on them?
I don't think your partner is going to be comfortable telling you things if you're always going to blow up on them. Like you need to be able to
That's good.
listen to your partner. And yeah, it might upset you, but I feel like you said, like you're safe, that people feel safe talking to you. And I feel safe talking to you. I know I can tell you anything because I know you're not going to be like, well, you need to, da, da, da. Like if you were that type of person, I probably would be afraid to tell you things. Or I would also feel like I can't do anything without him getting upset. So I'm just not going to do anything. And then it would make me miserable as well. So I think it's really important to be a safe space for your partner. Not saying you're not allowed to be upset or annoyed with certain things that they are sharing with you, but I feel like there's a certain way to communicate that without making them feel like, okay, now I know that I can't tell them anything. So just be a safe space for your partner.
No, I think that's really, really good. I think you took the words almost literally out of my mouth. I think it's just so important to be your partner's peace, to be like the safe space is safe space is the word. It's that there's nothing that I think my wife. I mean, there could be things that she didn't want to tell me because they hurt my feelings or because of whatever, but not because she's afraid of my response. I think that our jobs as husbands, as wives, as partners or partners in general, is to just be that safe space for someone, so that whatever they tell you, they can feel comfortable to tell you whatever, and that secrets don't continue to build and build and build.
Yeah.
Be that safe space. I think
Safe
that's really, really
space.
good.
Yeah, safe space in a safe place. I don't know why
That's
I
really
always feel
good.
like high-fiving you.
Yeah, you summed it up really well. I thought that was
Thanks.
gonna be a longer conversation, but I think that as much as it's important to live in the light, make it easy for your partner to be in the light,
And
or
if
else
you
they'll
are that
tempt
partner,
darkness.
don't be acting silly. Don't be acting like everything's not a big deal. Cause some things I'm like, all right, bro,
It
like
can be a big
that
deal.
wasn't giving. I had to rope you up a few times when we were dating. I'm like, don't do that. I don't like that. You're doing too much on that one.
Yeah, and sometimes to this day she texts me and tell me
Yeah.
I'm doing too much.
I'm like, you ain't had to say that. That was just too much, bro.
And me, I just try my best to, when she corrects me, not make it be like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's like maybe she's saying it for a reason, and sometimes I could be tripping too. So like approaching the situations with humility as well.
Yeah.
Maybe I am wrong. I could think, if she could say that, and I could think that it is no big deal, but because my wife is my first ministry, like I submit to that. You know, I submit to her correction. And
I
as
don't
she
like
would,
the word correction.
correction's good.
Okay.
All right, okay, I won't say correction. To her uncomfortability.
Okay.
You know, like if something makes her uncomfortable, like I will not do that thing because it's making her uncomfortable. Not because I think it's a bad thing, but because it's making her uncomfortable. I submit under that. You know what I mean?
And vice versa.
And vice versa. So
I'm all about you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're just.
I don't know what you're doing.
I'm trying to like this one. I don't know. I'm all about you, big dog.
I'm all about you too. I love you very much.
I love you. We love you guys. Thank you for watching another episode of Between the Walls podcast. And we will see you guys next week. Oh, we want to tell them, if you can't watch on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
And Spotify.
Yeah, so we'll leave the links in the description box if you can't catch us.
It's in the link tree. It's in the link tree. It should be down there.
Oh, yeah. If you can't catch us on here, catch us on your ride to work, picking up the kids, whatever. Or wherever you're catching us, we thank you for hanging out with us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.